who knows? I haven't seen anything official from them yet.
Yeah, I hope they play just so that the last thing in the world that you want to do is if you've got your starters playing and you're planning on playing a half, and then all of a sudden the Miami Dolphins roll out and don't play anybody, and then your starters are playing against a bunch of backups.
Yeah, or against a guy who's really trying to go out and make something of him, try to put himself out there to make a team. So he's going above and beyond, and maybe a little too far or whatever it is. Right?
I mean, it's full speed. I mean, you can't. Live is live, but I understand what you're saying.
You'd rather have an 8-year vet who knows how to play instead of a rookie who's just trying to make the roster. Right?
Totally understand it, and so that's what you also maybe have to be thinking of if you're head coach Doug Pederson and Miami rolls out there with no starters playing, which I don't know if that's the case. Head coach Mike McDaniel gave no indication so far in his press conference, and to be perfectly honest with you, it's hard to get any kind of indication from a Mike McDaniel press conference.
He'll take the scenic route around a lot of issues, that's for sure.
I mean, am I the only one that thinks he's hard to listen to?
It's interesting.
Interesting.
He's an interesting.
That's a good term.
He's an interesting coach.
That's a good term.
The Dolphins Jaguars game is brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. Let's hear from another interesting guy. Offensive coordinator Press Taylor for the Jacksonville Jaguars spoke with the media Wednesday and was asked what to expect from the starters.
Similar thing as, we talked about week one or preseason week one of seeing just a clean operation. You want to see clear communication. It's our chance to be at home. You kind of want the butterflies of these guys getting in a game and understanding they're about to get tackled. There's pressure on the line. If you don't convert, you're punting and all that type of stuff. So you really just want to try to get that smoothed out for the guys so that week one, it's not the first time they've felt that way or communicated in a huddle or broken a huddle together and all that stuff. So clean operation from a communication substitution standpoint, and then you want to see them execute. Again, it's still somewhat of a core game plan for us. It's not exotic stuff, so you just want to go out and see clean execution out of these guys, making plays too.
Yeah, in and out of the huddle, right? Get guys from the sideline on time. You don't want any delay things to happen.
Yeah, that's week one stuff that you want to
think,
see.
Right?
Yeah.
And just asking Trevor Lawrence about it earlier this week in the press conference that he had after a practice, I asked, he talked about press there. Hey, we do a little more game plan. Well, what does that even mean? And Trevor was basically like, well, there's a little bit more. It's still base, but we're going up against different looks. There's cards. There's some of that.
Well, and to give people an idea, if, let's say, for a regular season game, let's say that's 100% playbook, you're going to have like half of the playbook in this preseason game that you would have for a regular season game. But nonetheless, it's a game plan because you want to evaluate a lot of these guys in the situation. Okay, we got to give them a game plan. We got to see if they can understand the game plan and see if they can execute the game plan. You want to see them in as close to game week kind of feel that you can possibly get without having, okay, you know what, when we get zero coverage, we're checking and we're going to go as, a fly route over here and this over here. You're not going to do that. To that extent, okay, but you're going to give them some plays, and I'm sure that they had the opponents, they identified them by jersey number so they can get a feel from that standpoint, both offensively and defensively, because it's just another step in the evaluation process to see if they can handle that. And some guys do great when it's just being athletic and playing a game plan that's very simplified in week one and week two of the preseason. It's a little different when you hand them a game plan that has adjustments, that has maybe 10 times the number of play calls as preseason game number one or preseason game number two. Because the one word I think that you'll hear me use a lot in this show is the word trust. And I talked a little bit about it earlier in the week, and the reason I bring this up is because you have to be able to trust players to do what you're asking them to do. And so this week, by giving them a game plan, you're going to see if you can trust them to learn and assimilate a game plan and to execute that game plan. If you can't trust them with this next step, then that brings a little bit of doubt into the thought process of certain individuals. And then if you're in a situation where, okay, we've got a guy that we have experience with, And we know in the past that we could trust him. And then if you got a new guy that may be showing some better skills, but you don't trust him, then all of a sudden it makes that decision very hard. Trust is a big thing. Trust from the standpoint, can they handle it mentally? Can they handle it physically? And then can they be available? Can they be dependable? I mean, all these terms you always hear about always kind of fall back on that word trust, JP. And so I hope you don't get tired of me saying it.
I mean, if this was a Groucho Marx show, it would be the secret word of the day. And you would have said it like 5 times already. And the duck would have come down from the ceiling and the
Didn't
whole
Mr.
deal.
Rogers have a word of the day?
I think a lot of shows have had similar ideas.
Should break out my sweater.
Yeah, I've changed shoes before you come in here
Yeah.
as well. Jags fans want customized Jaguars furniture for your home? Check out zipchair.com and browse all customizable options. Zipchair, furniture for fans. We're on 1010XL, 92.5 FM. It's Jaguars Happy Hour. The Doug Pederson Show coming up at 5 o'clock. Let's hear from the head coach. Other news today, Doug Pederson with an update on the status of defensive tackle Devon Hamilton.
He's doing extremely well. Obviously, it's a non-football, related injury, and he's doing extremely well. And our doc said that he could be back in our building as early as next week. So we're happy for that.
All right, that's the update, which is not quite an update of exactly what's going on, but it is a non-football back injury.
No. Obviously, it is a non-football injury. That's the direct quote.
Correct.
Okay, and so I find this interesting. Okay,
Why?
Obviously, it's a non-football injury. I think that this is, well, I don't know if it could lead to something, but it certainly would allow the setup of if you have to place him on the non-football injury list, which, JP, you know the rules very well, and I'll let you explain them.
So basically, if your non-football injury at the start when they cut it down to 53, I think you have to be on there for a minimum of 4 weeks.
Okay,
is the way I understand it.
And if you're on the NFI list, non-football injury list, you do not count.
Correct.
Against the 53.
Correct.
And so I just find it interesting that Doug used the term, obviously this is a non-football injury, which
They said it in the statement when it happened, and then they've repeated it a few times.
Okay, so if it's a non-football injury, okay, now they have the ability to put him on the NFI list, which doesn't you don't have to use a roster spot to keep him. And let's say he's going to be a couple weeks away into the regular season until he's ready. That gives the team a little flexibility from a roster management standpoint. Okay, and the other thing, he's going to be back in the building next week.
Yeah, well, like when? Like Monday? And then what's going on next week? There's not much happening, right?
Okay, well, I mean, my point is that, okay, he's not even in the building now.
Right.
Which, this is serious. I mean, if he's not in the building, I mean, okay, if he's not in the building, is he at home resting? Is he at a hospital? I mean, you don't know, because here's the reality. The coaches don't have to give any injury information out in the preseason if they don't want to.
Nothing.
So Doug doesn't have to do anything. But obviously it's a non-football injury.
Because they've said so multiple times. They've made it clear. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it'll be interesting. But here's the reality. He's one of their 2 best big guy defensive linemen that there is on this roster. Devon Hamilton and Roy Robertson Harris are the 2 most influential big men on this roster. When I say influential, as far as how they can impact a game day atmosphere and wreck people. And if all of a sudden one of those 2 is not available, and Devon is arguably your best interior pass rusher that you have from a success standpoint, if you look at the numbers last year from PFF, he was the highest success rate interior pass rusher that the Jaguars had.
And just look in your eyes at training camp this year.
He's a big dude, and he's been winning all the time.
That's what I'm saying against this group.
Has Brandon Sheriff slowed him down yet in one-on-one? No. I mean, that's how powerful Devon Hamilton is. I mean, Brandon Sheriff is, kind of gotten, pushed back a little bit, and rightfully so, because Devon is a big dude.
Yeah.
And having him on the sideline with a obvious non-football injury.
Apparently so. We've heard that a few times.
That's tough. I mean, okay, could it open up a roster spot for somebody else? I don't know. But the one thing I will say about that position, Gotsis is another guy that factors in there. Ledbetter's another guy that factors in there. Ledbetter, I thought, had a very good game in Detroit.
He looked great.
Had
Flashed
a very
everywhere.
good game.
He was all over the place.
Gotsis, not so much, but dependable nonetheless.
You know what he is, though.
Exactly. He's been a very dependable guy for a long period of time, and you just don't want to have an injury at that position because, out of all the positions that you have on this football team, I would say interior defensive line, you don't have a lot of depth. That's one of those positions that in the future I would expect this football team to end up using some high draft picks on that position at some point in the very near future.
Yeah, they were very confident in those starting big three guys.
Yeah, Fadakasi's already
right.
down with a foot.
That's right. And he's still day-to-day, week-to-week. There's no real – he wasn't going to give many injury timetables. That's not Doug's MO. So
No.
in the press conference today, he's different guys heal in different ways. He wasn't going a definitive route.
Well, and he doesn't have to.
That's right.
So, why would you do that?
True.
Especially when your opponent, week one, the Indianapolis Colts, is tracking everything that's going on with your roster.
I bet I'm going to guess they're probably watching this show right now.
I don't think they watch the show, but I guarantee you they watch. I guarantee you they watch Doug's presser.
Oh, I bet that's on Jaguars.com, as is this show.
Well, I don't think they'd be watching.
Hey, guys in Indy, how you doing? We're here.
I don't think so.
I bet they do.
But I'm sure they're watching Doug Pederson's press conference
Probably.
to garner any kind of information that they can get.
We'll come back in a moment, see what we can get into next. We'll get into the offensive line. Some shuffling up there.
A little beat up there, too.
Yes, they are. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM, Jaguars.com, Jaguars YouTube. It's Jaguars Happy Hour presented by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. This is Jaguars Happy Hour.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Jaguars fans, Everbank is building its future on the partnership and the performance you know and trust. Take advantage of high-yield savings solutions with money market, online savings, CDs, and more. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars today for your financial advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
Hey Jags fans, stop dreaming of creating your game day fan cave and build the Jaguars den of your dreams with ZipChair. When it comes to maximum comfort, ZipChair.com is the only place for officially licensed Jaguars recliners, sofas, bar stools, office and gaming chairs, all featuring high-quality embroidered Jags logos. Crack open a few cold ones in the comfort of a ZipChair and make your home the place to be on game day. Head over to ZipChair.com and save 20% today. Use code JagsRadio at checkout. ZipChair.com, furniture for fans.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Don't get sacked by a no-name propane rookie this football season, Jacksonville. Draft an all-star and switch to AmeriGas, the official propane provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the homes and businesses who know it was always the Jags. Show off your Duval pride at your next tailgate with a Jaguars grill tank from AmeriGas. To find an AmeriGas exchange location near you or to order a propane fill-up for your home or business, visit AmeriGas.com/Jacksonville-Jaguars or call 844-PRO-JAGS.
We're back. It's Jaguars Happy Hour, brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on 1010XL, 92.5 FM, Jaguars.com, Jaguars YouTube. Hit us up on the X. Is it the X? No, it's just X. At JP Shadrick.
Not calling it Twitter anymore?
Well, because it's not. At Logs56.
Formerly known as Twitter?
Yes. Posts on X. No longer tweets on Twitter. You get the idea.
I do. I'm a big X guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a social media maven.
I am.
You always have been. Offense and the offensive line. We talked about a lot of the defensive injuries just a moment ago, but that transitions over now to the offensive line and especially the depth on the offensive line. There's been some of that has been dinged up recently. You know, the front, if you will, the first team offensive line for the most part seems okay, ready to roll. It's Walker Little at left. Ben Barch is going to get his chance in this game, it sounds like, on Saturday at left guard. And the rest, you know, Fortner at center, Sheriff at right guard, and Anton Harrison's working through his shoulder issue. Let's see what he gets done on Saturday.
Probably be working through it all year.
Okay, so there's your starting five, at least on paper, going into week one.
I mean,
After that,
I don't,
there's some
I
questions.
don't know about
right?
that.
You don't think so?
No, well, maybe not.
Who?
I mean, well, you're saying Ben Barch at left guard. I mean, Tyler Shatley last year started 12 games.
Tyler Shatley hasn't practiced in 2 weeks.
I think that's my point of that is that I think that's let me bring this up as to counter to your point. How many games has Ben Barch played in the last year?
Well, he's been out for 10 months with a knee injury.
I mean, exactly. Significant knee injury, hasn't played a lot. Literally just returned to practice last week. Okay, this is going to be his first game action back since the knee injury. Where's he at? I mean,
we'll find out Saturday.
Well, I mean, would that be enough to say, okay, let's start him? You know what I mean? I mean, go back to that word trust.
Yeah. The word of the day.
Is that going to
secret word?
Enough evidence that you're going to see with your eyes to say, okay, we trust him. He has had his first game action back since suffering a significant knee injury. Or do you trust a guy that maybe doesn't play at all in the preseason, that had an AFib event? I mean, I think this is going to be interesting to watch to see what they decide to do at that position. And I'm not saying that Barch is not going to start. I'm just saying that that's something that bears watching.
Well, here's a question then, right? I mean, because Doug Pederson today was asked, who's the swing tackle right now?
I mean, that's an easy one. Blake Hance.
He said Blake Hance. Well, Blake Hance is listed as a left guard on the depth chart right now.
As a starting left guard.
Correct.
Okay.
So if for some reason Barch isn't ready to go.
But that was his past game.
The flip card for this game,
yeah,
we'll see. I'm just saying this. Yeah. Here's my point. If Barch isn't ready and Shatley's not ready,
Hance
is it. Who's the swing tackle?
Hance.
He's doing all of the above.
Yes.
All right, who else is up?
Well, I mean, you're going to have either Shatley or Barch.
What if he's not
Shatley
ready?
And Barch.
What if they're not ready?
Well, that's a great question. If they're not ready, then it's probably going to be a Chandler Brewer.
Okay.
I mean, but now you're starting.
Now we're digging.
Things are getting thin.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, but if you're
no offense, I'm just saying.
If you're assuming that
trust
Shatley,
is a word again.
Absolutely. And I think that it will be interesting if all of those guys are not available. But I would be surprised if all of them are not. But it's not uncommon to have a starter to be the backup at another position or two on game day. You know, for example, like what we're talking about. Let's say Blake Hance ends up having to start at left guard because Shatley and Barch are not quite ready, okay? And if all of a sudden you had an injury that happened to either Anton Harrison or to your left tackle, Walker Little, okay, Hance would come out as your starting left guard and would become either the left tackle or the right tackle.
And then you'd put in a guard.
And then you'd put in the next guy up at guard, which if it's Chandler Brewer or
Croy
Kronk,
or
Kronk's a dependable guy too. They like him.
Samuel Jackson's a rookie.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson is. I don't think he's going to make it.
Darrell Williams is your backup center right now.
I like Darrell Williams, and you know what? I just want to say
guard.
kudos to Darrell Williams. He played every snap at center at that game in Detroit.
Pretty good.
I mean, in a preseason, how many
Good for
guys
him.
play an entire game?
What a showcase for him.
I mean, yeah, what a great opportunity. He's a solid center. I mean,
He's got a little nasty to him.
you doggone
too, by the
right
way.
he does. He's got a little
Echo of the whistle stuff.
He's got a little bit of that. What's the right term that I can say on the radio? He's got a little spice to him.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
That's the other word of the day.
A little zest.
Yeah. Trust and zest.
No, I like him. I think he's good. He's got a real low center of gravity. He's strong. He's got good movements. Got good balance. I mean, I think he's a good backup center.
We talked a lot last week, and Doug Pederson talked about this last week after the game, that Cam Robinson's performance last week was not Cam Robinson level like it should be for a veteran of his caliber.
That's fair.
What does he need to do this week? How do you bounce back from
Play
that?
better.
And all right, so
I mean, the easy answer is play better.
What was he doing so wrong last week?
Well, when your starting left tackle is playing in a game which none of the opponent's starters are playing, you would expect him to play well, especially given that that is one of the last opportunities that he has for about 5 weeks to be able to get those reps. And so you want to end up having quality reps, because after 5 weeks he comes back in, if all of a sudden what the reps that you saw before you left weren't great, do you have any trust putting him back into
Trust.
the lineup
There's
after
the word again.
being gone for
Ding,
4 weeks?
Ding. Right.
And I think it was disappointing. He Okwara, I think is what the pass rusher's name was, the backup Detroit Lions defensive end, was giving him fits. He got pushed back at times. He was a little off balance. And Cam's capable so much better. I mean, he's a big guy that's got great athleticism. Certainly expect more out of Cam. And I hope that this game shows a lot better. But the reality is I don't – how much will he play this game? Because this game is about getting the starters ready and then also maybe getting the backups ready. So, I mean, I would assume that he'll play the second half. But then again, I don't know. I mean, because the priority is getting the guys ready for week 1, right?
Yeah. Would you want to see your possible swing tackles?
Exactly.
Weeks 1 through 4?
Well, exactly. So that he may not get the number of reps that he got in Detroit. But yeah, I mean, that was not the level of performance that you expected out of your starting left tackle.
Play better when you have the reps.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I hope that he has a plan for the 4 weeks that he's out. Actually, 5 weeks in reality. Okay.
You don't think he'd come back for the second London game?
No, I mean, he could.
But he hadn't practiced in 4 weeks.
He could, but do you trust him? I mean, and that's, you want to see something in practice because you haven't seen anything for a while. And when I say he has to have a plan, he's got to go somewhere or be somewhere where he can get some type of comparative training to what he would receive here if he were practicing, playing. And I don't know what the answer to that is. Is it a private trainer? Is it, going back to Alabama and then, doing some practice drills with the guys at Alabama? I don't even know if that's allowed. I don't know.
I have no idea. That's a good question.
I don't know. But if you can,
you can go work out.
And do football stuff.
I don't know about on the field. That's a good question.
Well, do football stuff. Can you do? I mean, obviously he can't put pads on and a helmet.
Can't practice against the freshmen.
But I mean, if he could go out there and do some of the drills, or I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
But you want to make sure that he is doing something to maintain the football conditioning, the football mindset, the football footwork. I mean, all of those things you want to try to make sure that you're doing, and also try to simulate a game, because when you come back after being out for 4 or 5 weeks, I mean, if all of a sudden you're expected to start or you're needed to start, I mean, you're talking 65 plus plays is average for a game. I mean, that's a pretty sizable jump.
Stamina.
Yeah.
Big deal. PRI Productions, the official event production company of the Jags, has everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com. Plenty ahead. Kai Stevens joins us in studio when we return. Jaguars Happy Hour brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. This is Jaguars Happy Hour.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Cancer patients across the Southeast make Baptist MD Anderson Cancer Center in Jacksonville their first choice for treatment. Dr. Jonathan Melquist explains why.
We have so many resources that can help a patient from the very onset, and we just have a degree of unity and cohesive care that is hard to match. It's especially with the tougher cancers that we really excel.
Appointments available now. Call 844-632-2278.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens, plus easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
Hey Jaguars fans, it's always game on with Dunkin'. So grab a coffee and kick off the action, whether that's drinking a cup of coffee on your way to the game or grabbing one to go before watching at home. Dunkin' is always there to help you get your game on. Just like the pros, we need to be at our best come game time, which is why Dunkin' is the most important part of your game day ritual, because it's always the best call for football. America runs on Dunkin'.
Are you ready to elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans? Citrus Distillers, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is excited to announce the 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Now available at Total Wine and other participating retailers. Elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans. The 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Duval!
Jaguars Happy Hour is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. We're on 1010XL, 92.5 FM on this Thursday. Jaguars.com, Jaguars YouTube, all the places. Kai Stevens is with us as well. How do you spell your X handle? What is it?
Are we calling it X? Because I don't really want to do that.
It is literally called X.
It's formerly Twitter in my mind. It's like Staples Center in LA, like Heinz Field. Like, just let me be old and crotchety about it. My full name is Kainani, and then Stevens is Stevens.
Okay.
On the X.
On the X.
As you would say.
That's your handle on the X where you post things.
All the things.
Jaguars related. Hey, training camp's over, Kai.
I know.
How about that?
I'm excited. Well, we still have like one more day of practice-y-ish things, but it's not open to us, right? Or is it tomorrow?
No.
Yeah. So,
No.
So
We're
it's done
closed.
then.
It's
yeah.
done.
So we're fine. We're
In our
checked out.
world, it might as well be over until Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, day before game's like a walkthrough.
That's
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, fun and games, call-outs, make sure everybody knows their depth, brief meetings, and then a day of rest.
A day of
Some
rest.
meetings at night before, probably.
Yeah, bed check.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, bed check.
They might actually move that. How about a night game? Would they move that to Saturday morning, the meetings, or no? That'd be the night before.
No.
Right?
I mean, in the preseason, a lot of times you would have the night meetings the night before the game, and then you would also have
Like a midday.
meetings, and you're not going to have them early. You want guys to sleep in
When
to
you
get
to
as much
stadium
rest as
midday.
they possibly can, and then have like a late breakfast brunch, and then maybe a brief meeting then, and then a break, and then pregame meal, and then let's play football.
Do we know how are they going to come here to the practice facility or they go straight to the stadium on game day? Like players.
Most of them go straight to the stadium.
Yeah,
Okay.
because everything they'll
All their
move
stuff
the
will have
equipment
shifted
stuff.
over there? Okay.
Yes,
I
back
mean,
into the
we don't know
locker
that for sure because this is the first
It's
time
the first
ever
game. I was
that's
just
happening.
curious. Yeah.
Good
You
point.
know, but my guess is they go straight there.
That's right.
Interesting.
Everything's kind of over there. They wheel it over there. I think the day before, and
And I'm sure that George and the equipment guys are telling everybody, look, make sure that you have everything in the bag because
You're not
that's
gonna
what
wanna
we're
try
carrying
it.
over there.
Yeah.
that's right.
But I'm going to give you a funny story because we were talking about bed check. So I'll never.
Is this another trust
It's
story?
a story? No.
Trust?
Well,
Okay.
Well,
It's the word of the day is trust, Kai.
there's a lack of trust, which is why you have bed
That's why you
check.
have bed checks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. Thank
Yeah,
you.
serious lack of trust. So when I was in New York, our kicker's name was Pat Lee. He was like 40 years old. Okay?
And he's getting bed checked?
And he was getting bed checked. You had coaches that were 10 or 12 years junior that were bed checking him. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. What we really need to be doing was bed checking our coaches. Because our coaches back then were out drinking and partying. But we're bed checking our 40-year-old kicker? I thought that was ridiculous.
Was he always there, or did he miss
Pat?
some? Yeah.
Pat wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
Now, he was my neighbor. He actually literally lived right next door to me and loved him because he would always invite me over for dinner. I was a young single guy, and his wife was a good cook, and so I got free meals. And then he'd come over to my house to drink beer and dip his tobacco.
It's like I need a break. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think we buried the lead. We need the Jeff Lageman stories of bed check.
Now, I was always at bed check, and the stories that
Whether they knew it or
can't
not.
say on the air.
Why not?
No, but it was always fun that you would sometimes you were always trying to embarrass the bed checkee. You know
Who
what I
gets
mean?
assigned to that?
Because they
Bed checker.
knock on the door and open.
You're the bed checkee.
They had the master key.
It would be the bed checker.
The bed checker. That's what I said.
You said checkee. You're the
Okay,
checkee.
the bed checker.
They're the checker.
He had a master key, and I guess somebody at the hotel had a master key, so they would knock on your door and then open it. So it's not like they waited for you to come and answer it. They would just open it up, peek your head in, make sure you're there, and then say goodbye. And there were some guys that would wait for the bed check, and it would sometimes wouldn't have a stitch of clothing on purpose just to mess with the bed checker. But anyway.
Oh, they're there, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that, JP.
Oh, of course not.
Why would you?
He would never.
Very respectful.
Always.
Very
Always
respectful.
were.
Yeah, but usually the bed check, coaches got assigned to it back in the day. I don't know how they do it now. But like every coach had to do it, and everyone had a different night. And so one night it was this guy, next night it was another guy, and everybody had to do it, at some point, like training camp.
I would love to see Phil Rauscher do bed checks.
Oh, that would be funny.
I would
The
die.
offensive line coach. That would be something.
He might be one of the best coaching personalities that I've ever been around.
If you're ever blessed to talk to him, it's a time.
He's awesome.
It's a trip. And just wait till you hear some mic'd up
He was
pieces
mic'd
of it.
up,
I was
right?
going to
Some
say, that's
point
what these guys,
soon,
yeah.
yes.
It's
you
coming
want
out
to
soon.
talk about must-see mic'd up TV?
Yeah, I would.
Good
I mean,
stuff.
a lot of it we had to bleep and cut out, but
Yeah.
the stuff that made it is still entertaining.
That's
He's
the
good.
That's the good stuff. Kai, what's the most pressing issue for this Jaguars team going into Saturday?
Health, obviously, on the offensive line. I think just because with the moving parts, and when you make that final roster, you want to go into it. That was a position of depth when they went into the season. Obviously, a lot of the backups got hurt in that game in Detroit, so kind of solidifying where everybody's at. They have a lot of versatility, so it shouldn't be difficult in terms of specific positions, but you still want to have as much depth as you can because protecting Trevor Lawrence is game plan number one, keeping him upright. And then I'm just excited to actually see a fast start because we talk about having a fast start all the time.
Well,
and
we talk about that for a long time.
We got to make that happen, right? Like you come out and Trevor throws a pick in the first, we can't, that's not going to help. That's not doing it. So I would love to see an actual fast start out of them on Saturday. I know it's preseason, but with as many starters as they are going to have going in that game, it will be nice to see that.
Fast start. I mean, when was the last time we actually saw a true fast start around here? Three straight scoring drives.
Well, it's not. Well, wait a minute. I mean, how many people?
Come on.
Have
that's a lot. I'm talking like
scoring drives.
At least score on your first drive, and then I don't know, maybe field goal, something like that. Like just some. I would like to see it consistently when they get the ball in their first possession. There's points out of that. That would be great.
Down the stretch last year, they're behind early. They're having to play catch up all these games. Logs. That's the point.
I would rather have a strong finish than a fast start. Right? I mean,
sure,
right? I mean, it's about winning.
But you don't need as much of a furious finish if you start better.
Well, no, but I mean, you still have to play. I mean, look, there's so many different.
We can talk around this 7 ways.
Focal points that you can have in the coaching speak world. Okay, let's have a fast start. Let's finish strong. Let's play 60 minutes. I mean, there's a million different things. I mean, you just want to play well and you want to win. Okay, however you get there, I'm all for. Fast start, slow start. Medium start, strong finish, slow finish. Okay, as long as you win, I'm all for it.
Score one more point.
3 yards, cloud of dust, whatever.
Yeah, that's what it takes. But it's just funny because I think it's a lot of coaching speak.
Certainly.
And look, the reality is that this is a better football team, I think, than last year, especially offensively. And I think we will see a fast start. I don't necessarily have to see it against Miami. You want to see it on a regular basis once they get into the regular season to where they're starting good. I don't want to say fast because you just want to see them start good. And, obviously, as long as you win the game, it doesn't matter how you do it. One more point, baby. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Kai Stevens is with us. And Jaguars All Access starts tonight.
It is.
It is your triumphant debut on the show, Kai.
Indeed. Let's do this. I'm excited. I'm excited to see some of the fans out and about.
Strings Sports Brewery.
We got good beer.
Let's do it. I would never do such a thing.
Great food, too.
Good beer. Very good food.
I recommend the wings with the Alabama sauce.
Yeah.
Can't be eating wings on air. That's a little unprofessional.
Well, I'm not on the air, so I guess what? I can eat wings.
Are you coming tonight?
I don't know. I might.
I figured you might.
Well, if there's wings involved, I might.
I mean, I think you owe me a beer.
Uh-oh.
For what?
From Strings last year. I think I bought you a beer.
Did you?
Yeah. I know you owe me a lunch.
You've been holding that in your back pocket.
I think you owe me a beer,
Now's
too.
the time you bring that up?
Yeah.
Calls in the favors when he needs the favor.
Oh, great. Yeah, of course.
I'm trying to get somebody to have a beer with me tonight.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll show up.
All right.
I don't know.
Cool.
You're going to love it over there, Kai.
I'm
really
excited.
Cool.
Hopefully everyone tunes in. I think we're on Fox, right? So All Access at 7.
Yep. All Access 7. Me, you, and some guy named Martineau.
I mean, he covers the team a little bit.
I think his name is Martino, something like that.
He must be new.
I think his name is Brennan.
I don't think that's accurate.
Martino. Yeah.
The new guy.
Yeah, new guy.
He's new, yeah.
He's a new guy. Check it out. 7 o'clock. Kai, you'll be on there with Jeff and Brennan Martino.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, that guy. I think he's a sports anchor somewhere in town or something,
He'll never last.
Kai, good to see you. Have a great show.
Bye.
Kai Stevens joining us, and if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, look no further than Ford F-150, loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is Jaguars Happy Hour, brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. It's Jaguars Happy Hour.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, Remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
You know what you expect at an airport hotel. A bed, a shuttle that's never on time, and if you're lucky, a day-old Danish on your way out the door. But at the Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport, you get a renovated lobby, restaurant, and bar, and 10,000 square feet of luxurious space for memorable family and business events. So stop by, stay a while, and expect to be surprised. Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport. Book online or call 1-877-2-CROWN. That's 1-877-227-6963.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguar sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars Happy Hour is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman on 1010XL, 92.5 FM, Jaguars.com, Jaguars YouTube. We're everywhere. And the Jaguars will be in the bank for the first time in 2023 Saturday. The game presented by Ticketmaster, the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 7 o'clock kickoff time, officially 7:07. We'll go on the air with the Publix Tailgate Show at 4 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, it's Countdown to Kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network. You can hear all that right here before the 7 o'clock kick. And should be a nice crowd, should be great weather. And let's see some football at the bank. Last time the Jags played a game in the bank, the wild card playoff game against the Chargers.
Tremendous game.
Unreal.
Tremendous game. And I hope, and again, Mike McDaniel hasn't said anything, or at least word hasn't gotten out of Miami whether the starters are going to play or not. But I was really hoping, and I'm still hopeful, that Tua will play, because when he plays, he's a good quarterback. I mean, you were just looking at the stats before we came on the air, and I asked you, and you figured it out just because of who we were playing this week. I said, who was the highest-rated quarterback from last year? I mean, if we were doing a different team this week, you'd probably throw out Patrick Mahomes. But he was the second highest-rated quarterback last year, and Tua was the highest-rated quarterback. And so I was hoping that they would play Tua. And then also, what is one of the number one positions that need to be evaluated on this football team for the Jaguars? Corner, right?
And what better way than the speedy receivers in Miami?
I mean, the Cheetah and
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle. I mean, if those two guys played with Tua, I mean, wouldn't that be a great opportunity for evaluation? I don't know if they're going to play or not, because both of the wide receivers were limited in practice or
That's
did not
right.
practice this week.
They didn't practice Wednesday. I think one of them had an abdomen injury a couple weeks ago, so it's been kind of that throughout camp.
But I wish we could see them. I don't know if we will, but I hope we see starters. You know, I mean, there's nothing worse than having a game that your starters are playing and they're not playing any starters. And I can't remember, it happened last year. And it happened in week one against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right.
In preseason week one,
That's right.
you go to Dallas and, the starters play for a couple series and Dallas didn't play anybody. You're like,
Yeah, Tua first in rating, Patrick Mahomes second, Jimmy Garoppolo third, Jalen Hurts fourth, Geno Smith fifth.
Geno had a tremendous year.
How about that?
I mean, tremendous year. But
he got paid for it, too.
But you know what I'm looking forward to also, even if Tua doesn't play? I want to see this body that Ryan Clark so aptly described.
Right. So obviously he's co-hosts with Fred Taylor and Channing Crowder on The Pivot. We saw them discuss things with Trevor Lawrence
But
last
it wasn't
week,
said
right?
on The Pivot.
No, it was on ESPN, and I guess Clark was talking about his body and how he said something about he's not training or whatever. So Tua, in his press conference, to his credit, was like, hey, keep my name out of your mouth. You don't know my training habits.
I don't think it was the name. He was talking more about the body.
Right, but he said, keep my name out of your mouth. That was his quote.
Yeah.
And so Ryan Clark today, put out this long apology about, hey, sorry I questioned your training and all this, and it was
kind of weird.
Social media, yeah.
It was kind of odd. So now, having read that, I'm curious.
See what he's talking about.
I want to see.
Right.
I want to see what Tua looks like.
I'm going to guess Tua has not been sitting on the couch eating Cheetos.
Well, supposedly he's been doing jiu-jitsu and he's gained some weight.
He's trying to. So the whole thing with that, right? He took all these jiu-jitsu classes to try to learn how to fall differently. Because that was the case with his concussions last year. He would hit his head.
Yeah,
so maybe he can brace differently or roll or whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's
if it works, great. I mean, I'm all for it. First of all, I think martial arts training is a great way of complementing your training towards any athletic endeavor. And so, it's cool, but I don't quite see the jiu-jitsu, learning how to fall, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but anyway, nonetheless, I want to see Tua, and I want to see if he looks like one of those dancing girls
that Ryan
Clark talked about.
Did you do any jiu-jitsu when you were playing any of that stuff?
No.
Karate?
No, I wish I did.
Taekwondo?
I wish I did.
Judo?
No.
None of that?
No, I wish I did. Because, one of the things that is definitely true, and we used to actually call one of the pass rush moves that I had was called the Karate Kid move.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off,
Come
right?
on.
Who
doesn't know that?
The motion, right, from Mr. Miyagi, okay, wax on, wax off. You change the motion as a pass rusher, when you would knock the hands down of an offensive lineman, you did that wax on, wax off. So whether it be going this way or that way, you were knocking the hands down to get by the offensive lineman. And so we actually called that the Karate Kid move. Wax on, wax off.
Makes sense to me.
And then, martial arts training can be awesome, especially for defensive linemen.
They didn't teach you the crane kick, though. You can't use that. That would be a penalty.
Yes, that would be a penalty, but that's a pretty cool move.
It's not bad. It worked.
Yeah.
Time for the injury report presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a relatively long list these days. Devon Hamilton with the non-football injury back issue. Could be back in the building as early as next week, Doug Pederson said earlier today. We'll see what that means when he is back in the building. But that's really about all the team has said. What Doug Pederson said today, he could be back in the building. Foley Fatukasi with a foot issue, and week to week he's walking around with a boot at practice, at least was the other day. Josh Wells with an adductor, that's a groin issue, could miss some time, according to Doug Pederson. Cooper Hodges with a patella injury could miss some time as well, according to Doug Pederson. Again, they don't have to give official timetables. They don't have to have an official injury report at all this time of year.
I give Doug credit for being so open.
He's been very open.
That's which is great. And you're not trying to hide anything. But, I mean, I think it's been fantastic. I mean, from the fan standpoint, you know, fans always want to know what's going on with their football team, and when the head coach is open, I think that makes it good. I mean, I think it keeps people interested and informed about their football team.
Antonio Johnson, rookie safety with a hamstring injury, and they're still not sure on the timetable for him either.
He's a good football player, Jay.
They liked him a lot.
I mean,
they
really
still
good.
do. They like him.
I'll never forget the first week of practice. The pads hadn't even really gone on yet, and I asked the question of a couple coaches about, you know, who's, you know, anybody standing out. I know it's early, the pads aren't on yet. I mean, and Antonio Johnson's name was like one of the first names to come out of multiple people's mouths, and they were extremely impressed. And I was like, yeah, come on, underwear Olympics, give me a break, right? And then all of a sudden, the Dallas Cowboys game, you know, pads came on, and he you know, shows a little bit. But then I watched the game film from the Dallas game, and I was like, wow, they're not lying. I mean, this guy makes it look easy. I mean, effortless. And very disappointed that he got hurt, because I think that he might have carved a role out in this defense in some way, shape, or form, whether it been in a nickel package or multiple safety package of some kind. I think that he's that good.
Listed at 6'2". I mean, he might be a hair bigger than that, too. I mean, he's
long.
Yes, and he's not afraid to use that size. Surprisingly physical for a guy that tall.
Well,
just to come in.
A lot of
make
guys
tackles
that played safety, you know, and he played the nickel in college,
right.
which I remember watching the film on him. I was like, you know, hey, he's a good nickel in college. I probably can't do that in the pros. Well, I mean, after watching him, well, maybe he can do that in the pros. I mean, he's been that impressive, and the Jaguars had a higher grade on him than the position that he was drafted in the 5th round. I think they had like a second or a third round pick on him, because I remember when after that Dallas game I started asking, and I was like, hey, look, you know, why did this guy fall? I mean, is there something negative that I don't know about or didn't hear about? And they're like, no. You know, and some guys just sometimes can fall, and especially at that position, if you're a safety and you don't have a ton of interceptions like Cisco had, or you know, a guy that made splash plays, I think sometimes it can be hard to get noticed, to get drafted real high, because safety is not considered a premium position like corner is.
We mentioned Wells and Hodges on the offensive line. Tyler Shatley has been off to the side since the atrial fibrillation issue, and was slated to come off blood thinners, Doug Pederson said, I believe, today, so could be maybe back on the field next week. We'll see what happens with that. Chandler Brewer was in the concussion protocol early this week. No word on the status there. And Anton Harrison's been playing through, or trying to battle through, that shoulder issue we talked about earlier. Some other guys, let's see. Shatley working off to the side again today. DeJuan Smoot still on the PUP list to start camp, and Ross Matisic, the long snapper, is out of practice with a shoulder issue. There is your injury report, presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. So our final thoughts coming up in a few moments. It's the Doug Pederson Show. We'll hear plenty from the head coach in his press conference earlier today. Doug will join us back in studio Week 1 before the Jaguars face the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. That's a couple weeks away from now. But now it's the final preparations for preseason Week 3. The Dolphins and the Jaguars. The Jag starters will go maybe a couple quarters. Clean operation is kind of been the buzzword this week on the coaching side of things. For you today on this show, the magic word is
trust.
How can a guy earn that with one game to go?
Well,
or can he?
Well, let me give you an example. Okay, I'll give you a couple guys. Okay, last week you've got two guys that are on defense that are rookies that are looking to make an impact. Abdullah, okay, played a lot last week because the starters didn't play. Also was asked to play special teams. Ventrell Miller, got quite a few snaps at linebacker last week. Also had some more snaps on special teams.
Sure.
They need to be better on special teams this week, because if they're not going to show that they can be better, then they can't be trusted. They got to show that they can be better in that segment of their game so that the coaches can say, hey, We trust you to not only play positional defense, but also to be able to be a contributor on special teams, because if you can't, they may go to a different option.
They got to do it by Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Well, the old rule of thumb, look, if you're not a starter, you have to be a contributor on special teams.
Then what are you doing here then? You're not going to be on the field at all. If you can't contribute on defense or on special teams, you're drinking all our Gatorade.
Well, last week, because the starters didn't play, those guys kind of double-timed. They didn't play, the offense or defense, and they had to play special teams. Some of those guys were gassed.
I bet.
Gassed.
Absolutely. But if you're not doing one of the two, then what are you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, you got to do something.
JP, I was a first-round pick in 1989. You know what I played? All defensive snaps. I played on all special teams.
You were a core guy.
I played every special team. Larry Pasquale was a special teams coordinator. I played punt return, kickoff return, field goal, and field goal block.
It can be done.
And I sucked a lot of wind.
That's Jeff Lageman. I'm JP Shadrick. Our thanks to Kai Stevens and our entire crew. Coming up in mere moments, the Doug Pederson Show. We'll hear from the Jaguars head coach in his press conference from earlier today as we preview preseason week 3, the Dolphins and the Jaguars coming up. Thank you for listening to Jaguars Happy Hour.
Welcome to the Doug Pederson Show. Brought to you by Fresh from Florida. JP Shadrick and former Jaguar Jeff Lageman discuss the latest Jaguars news with the head coach. The Doug Pederson Show starts right now.
Welcome in. It is Thursday, preseason week 3, and this is the Doug Pederson Show presented by Fresh from Florida. JP Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. We'll have head coach Doug Pederson in studio with us in week 1, a couple of weeks away before the Jaguars visit the Colts to open the regular season. This week, the Dolphins-Jaguars game Saturday at Everbank Stadium, 7 o'clock kickoff time. It's brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. Well, Logs, first of all, good afternoon. Training camp is in the books officially today, and the final preseason tune-up coming up Saturday. And Doug Pederson is going to put the starters out there. Let's see some clean operation from this group.
Yeah, and he feels like that's what's best for his football team, to kind of work out, get everybody used to kind of that game action, and I like it. I mean, it's you've got 2 weeks prior to the opener from this game forward, so you got plenty of time to kind of get rest and also to get recuperated from the injury front. Are you worried about injuries? I think everybody's always worried about injuries, and you can't let that kind of hinder some of your decision making. But if at the same token, all of a sudden you go out there and one of your main guys gets nicked, you're like, what are we doing? Why are we playing these guys? But it's look, you got to get ready to play football. That's the only way you get better, is by playing and executing and playing together. And it's not like they've had a ton of reps in game type of action. I mean, so this is a great opportunity for them to kind of work out some of those kinks before the opener.
We've heard a lot about the offense starting fast, or the idea of wanting to start fast. I would say they didn't start fast in Dallas 2 weeks ago. They threw an interception in the second play and then went 3 and out and got a short field on a takeaway on special teams, scored on a 4th down play to get it done, and a 2-point play, which was nice, a nice finish. But I think they'd like to start a little bit smoother, let's say, offensively.
Yeah, I mean, you always like to start out a little bit faster, especially in a game where you've got limited reps. Like the Dallas game, you would like to have started faster there, but the interception prohibited that. And I hope that the reps are quality against a quality opponent in the Miami Dolphins, because no indication from Mike McDaniel as far as what they're going to do, the Miami Dolphins. And I hope that they play their guys, just because if you're going to be playing your guys, I'd like to have them matched up against kind of guys of equal talent. And look, I don't expect the Dolphins to play everybody, but if you can get the majority of their frontline starters, then you're going to feel like, okay, if we have some production, then we feel like, okay, that was quality work. If all of a sudden you have a okay day against backups, I mean, what does that make you feel? And it doesn't make you feel particularly great about it, but it does make you feel terrible about it. So, I mean, I'd like to get some good reps in, and he's talked about a half, but I think that there's going to be a little mixing and matching would be my guess, even in the first half.
Yeah.
Because there's certain guys that you have to get a look at, that you want to evaluate with the first teamers in that situation against a quality opponent or quality players that are still on the field maybe at that stage of the game, instead of playing against a bunch of guys in the second half that aren't even going to be on an NFL roster. So there could be certain players or positions that have more players put in at a sooner point just because of the evaluation process.
Curious about the defensive look as well for this Jags team, and a lot of it depends on what happens on the Dolphins' offensive side. Is Tua playing? Are the big receivers playing? And Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, their speed changes a lot, and it would be a good look if you had that type of speed. I don't know if there's any speed in the NFL as fast as those two guys at that position. Well, it's a good challenge for this defensive back room if they can match up against that group.
Well, look, I mean, these two guys are really good. I mean, we know about the speed of Cheetah, Tyreek Hill. Last year, numbers, second in receptions with 119, second in yards with 1,710. I mean, he's one of the elite players in the National Football League. And then Jalen Waddle on the other side led the league in yards per catch average at 18.1 with, you have a minimum receptions. And then he was seventh in yards himself. I mean, he's an excellent football player. Tua, the number one rated passer from last year. So, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd like to get some reps against that. But I don't know if you're going to get that. I mean, the receivers have been a little bit banged up in Miami. They haven't been practicing. Tua's a little bit of a question mark as to he's going to play. And Mike McDaniels, if he has a press conference, if he does state that who is going to play or who's not going to play, you might take a little bit of time to figure that out from him. He's a different guy. I was driving today and pulled his latest or last press conference that was available this morning up, and he's a different guy. And he definitely takes some time to, he has like a 25-minute press conference that probably can happen in about 8 to 10 minutes if he was a little bit more concise. But concise and what's a person who's good with words that makes it concise? What would you call that? A wordsmith?
Sure.
There's another term I'm thinking of, as far as using words in the right way to where you don't have to use a lot of words to get the expression across.
I'm trying to use words now, and I can't think of one.
He's not very efficient with the words, okay. I think is a way to say that.
That's great. We got that done. Let's come back in a moment.
Just like I wasn't very efficient in explaining that.
You took the scenic route, and that's okay. We're back in a moment, and we'll hear from head coach Doug Pederson discussing the operation and the cleanliness of said operation Saturday night against the Dolphins. We're off and running. It's the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida on the Jaguars Radio Network. Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Flight by Yuengling. It's the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yuengling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass. Raise the bar. Flight by Yuengling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yuengling and Son Incorporated. Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist. Waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
Clean operation. You want the starters to go in there, and you remember what happened in the Dallas game. First series, and we turned the ball over. You don't want that. You want them to go in there and execute the offense. We still don't game plan these games. We just want to execute our plays and get the starters working together. For a number of snaps and just try to eliminate mistakes. Try to eliminate errors, things like that, and try to play, a clean football game, at least for the first half.
That's head coach Doug Pederson, and welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida from the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. We'll hear from the head coach in studio week 1. We heard from him in the press conference earlier today before the Dolphins game, and word from Miami today in Mike McDaniel's press conference. He was asked about playing time and was asked specifically about Tua Tagovailoa playing on Saturday, and he said, quote, and you're talking about him taking the long route to get to certain answers. It's a long quote. I don't know how much time we have in this segment. Quote,
read the quote.
Here it is. Quote, by and large, things always fluctuate depending on variables that are both with play and personnel around players. My plan has been, in the back of my mind, the starting point was more than a series, less than a half for all the starters. That is dependent on today's practice, and overall you're just trying to prepare guys for the regular season. I had in the back of my mind if things were even, Tua would play on Saturday, but that's something I'll revisit with the coaches after we completed this practice and kind of solidify that. But he's been prepared to all week. I told him that after the last game. He's prepared as though he's playing, and we'll revisit that after today's practice, end quote. So maybe we have an idea, but we're not sure. We're not ready to say. Let's see how practice yeah, there's all that today. So I would guess they'd be out there. If he's saying in the back of my mind more than a series, less than a half, maybe they'll get some time. I don't know.
I love Doug Pederson.
Right? Doug's like, yep, a half.
Yeah, I mean, just answer the question. But anyway, he is a very bright offensive mind. Okay, what he was able to do with Miami's offense last year, first of all, he did a tremendous job, I think, in developing Tua, even though Tua was dealing with concussion issues. I mean, they started out hot last year as a football team, and then they hit, I think it was like a 5-game skid, ended up winning a game to get back into the playoffs, the last game of the year, and dang near almost beat the Buffalo Bills.
You know who's down there? Darrell Bevel is the quarterback's coach.
Yes, he is.
Last year and still there. Passing game coordinator as well.
Which he was the interim coach here for a time
right after Urban.
The Urban debacle.
Yep.
And super nice guy. I like Darrell Bevel and got a great appreciation for him.
He did this show for, 4 weeks?
Yeah, and he was
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he sat in and was a trooper, which was a very tough situation. But, I mean, their offensive mind, look, Mike McDaniel's reason he was hired is because he's considered a very bright offensive mind. And now, all of a sudden, you've paired him with one of the brightest defensive minds in all of football, and Vic Fangio, who is one of the most respected coordinators, for years. Years, Vic Fangio has been a respected guy. And that's going to, because Miami's defense last year wasn't great. And I think they signed Jalen Ramsey, who has a knee. He's going to be out for some time. He's got a meniscus injury. But the addition of Vic Fangio will do more for Miami's football team, just like it did last year having Mike McDaniel lead their offense.
Are they better than the Jets?
I would not be surprised to see them better than the Jets at all. I'm not a big believer in that, okay, you just go out and you sign Aaron Rodgers, then all of a sudden all your ills are cured.
They got a lot of other guys other than Aaron, though. In New York.
I mean, he did. But it's hard to develop the chemistry and develop the rapport when you put together a group of guys like that in a short period of time. And maybe it happens. But, JP, I mean, think about when some of the great quarterbacks in the NFL have changed teams. Has it always worked?
Not always.
When has it?
Oh, I would say
when Joe Montana went to Kansas City. I mean, you got to talk about guys that are of that level.
It worked for a short time.
It worked for a short period of time.
Peyton went to Denver, but that was defensive heavy. It's not like he was throwing it all over the yard.
Peyton, had the neck, and so his arm wasn't the same. But, I mean, Joe's arm wasn't the same when he went to Kansas City, but they won.
Yeah.
I mean, so it can work.
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner did that with Arizona.
Yes.
Took them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, so it can happen, but there's a lot of – the list is much longer where it hasn't worked.
Kenny Stabler in Houston.
I mean, yeah.
And the Saints, right?
I mean, there's a bunch of them, right? Where quarterbacks, you sit there and you say, how many times have we heard, he stayed too long, he should have gotten out, while he was at the top of his game. He's just, hanging on.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Come on.
I mean, right,
he won a Super Bowl.
Right at the top. But, I mean, isn't that right there, which you just mentioned, Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, I mean, isn't that the gauge of whether Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets is a success or not?
Yeah.
So
Brett Favre.
Brett
Favre went to Minnesota.
Favre.
Went to Minnesota.
I love the way Madden used to say.
And went to New York after that.
Favre.
Yeah.
Old Brett's in a little bit of a pickle right now.
We're back in a moment. Plenty ahead. We'll discuss the Jaguars' defense and the evaluation process that goes into a final preseason game. Jags fans want customized Jags furniture for your home? Check out zipchair.com and browse all customizable options. ZipChair, furniture for fans. It's the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida on Jaguars Radio.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more, or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hey, I know we love our happy hours, but have you been to Mr. Chubby's Wings for lunch lately?
Yep, their new specials are awesome. I eat lunch there all the time.
I went this week and got wings, a drink, and chips for $8.
As usual, the best prices in town. You can't hardly find anyone doing $8 lunch anymore.
I know. I'm saving my money for the weekends with $8 lunch specials.
Save your money for the weekends. Enjoy $8 lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Fleming Island, the West Side, and Ponte Vedra Beach. Mr. Chubby's Wings.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today, or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
In partnership with Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, any Jaguars ticket holders who are unable to attend a Jaguars home game can donate their future tickets to a Jacksonville area first responder. Visit jaguars.com/members and click Manage Account. Sign into your account and click Manage Tickets and Parking. Select the game tickets, click on the More button, and then choose to donate to the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. Firehouse Subs is dedicated to impacting the life-saving capabilities and the lives of local heroes and communities. For more information, visit firehousesubsfoundation.org.
it's more than just the games, right? We can evaluate that. That's the easy part. It's just sometimes it's the off the field stuff that we look at, and can a player be trusted, because at the end of the day, you're down to 53, 48 on game day, and you go play, and you got to be able to account and count on those 48 guys that they're gonna be there on Sunday.
Welcome back. It's the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network, presented by Fresh from Florida. That was head coach Doug Pederson, of course. I'm JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman alongside. And if you've just joined us on the network program, the Doug Pederson Show, the secret word of the day is
trust.
You just heard it from the head coach.
Yeah, it's a big word, and it has a lot of applications when you talk about evaluating your roster and evaluating personnel. When you are trying to figure out who's going to make the final 53, but then really above and beyond that, the guys that are going to be active on game day is kind of what you look at when you're determining those 53. And trust is a big factor. Trust from the standpoint of, can you trust the player to mentally handle the game plan? Can you trust him from a mental standpoint to make the right decisions away from the football field? Okay, can you trust that player to be available on a week in and week out basis, or is that person going to be hurt a lot? Do you trust him?
And by hurt, okay, injured is different than hurt, right?
Yes.
Injured, you're injured and you can't play. Like
Yeah,
hurt, everybody plays hurt at some point, right?
Everybody plays hurt, okay, but not everybody plays injured.
Right.
Okay, so, and there's a difference. There's a big difference. The reality is that you're never going to, from the first game that you play in the NFL, you're never going to feel 100%. That's just the way it is. And you have to learn that you have to play with discomfort and with pain. That's part of the deal. That's why it's a gladiator sport. And if you can't do that, if you feel like that you have to be 100% to play, your availability is going to drop, which means your dependability and the trust level in you is going to drop. And so that's what has to be proven. And it's hard to prove in such a short amount of time in training camp because it's not really a true test. And so in a lot of ways, there's a lot of faith that the coaches are going to put in certain players because they're not going to have a true sample size to be able to make a great decision that's going to be able to let them know whether they trust them or not. So it's an interesting time of year. And there's a lot of decisions, especially given some of the injuries that they have had, to where now you're going to be looking at, do I trust this guy or not? Because of the injuries that you have, you probably weren't even thinking about making some of those decisions. But now you're thinking about it.
Right. And, I mean, the decision might be, okay, for a few weeks, and then you have to make another one again when another guy's healthy.
Well,
right?
I mean, for example, let's look at the offensive line. I mean, we thought at the beginning of the year this was a pretty easy cut. Okay, and ignore Cam Robinson because he's going to be on the suspended list. Okay, I had like Walker Little, Josh Wells, Tyler Shatley,
3,
Ben Barch,
4,
Blake Hance,
5,
Luke Fortner,
6,
Brandon Sheriff,
7,
Cooper Hodges,
8,
Anton Harrison.
9.
That was my 9.
Okay. Well,
now you've got Wells has a abductor issue. Shatley's got AFib.
Right.
Okay, that's a question mark.
Yep.
You've got an injury to Anton Harrison. He's going to make the team, but that kind of works into your thought process a little bit. So now, one guy that I didn't have on the list at the beginning when I started to figure out where this roster would go was Darrell Williams.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Hodges has got an issue now,
and Hodges has a patellar issue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How long is he going to be out?
Anyway, so Darrell Williams.
So Darrell Williams is a guy that you're thinking, okay. Chandler Brew is a guy you're thinking, okay, maybe he's a guy. Coy Cronk's a guy, okay, can he make it? Because I think Wells is probably going to be an injury settlement guy, and that's the best way I think that situation could end. But, I mean, that's Bobby Evans. I mean, is Bobby Evans in play now? The free agent guy that you signed who can play some tackle that you added the last week. I mean, could he be a guy that you consider? Practice squad is also an area for some of these guys. But that's how different all of a sudden at the beginning of camp, the mindset was, okay, these are the guys. Well, all these injuries have changed some of that.
They are until they aren't.
So,
one way or another, right?
It's different. Defensive back, which has not really been hampered by injuries whatsoever.
Knock on wood.
Because the one injury that you have in the back end is Antonio Johnson. He's going to miss some time with a hamstring, but he's not going anywhere.
No, he's fine.
Right, he's not going anywhere.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to be on the 53. He's just going to take some time, but he's so good. You're going to keep 5 safeties. Okay, how many corners are you going to keep? And my guess would be 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, because you're going to have your 3 that start. And couple backups, right?
And right now, when you say those 3, who are those 3?
Well, the outside guys are Williams and Tyson Campbell. The question is
who's
third corner and nickel.
Who's number 3?
It goes back to trust, right?
And
is it Trey Herndon?
Right now, JP, who do you trust?
The question is Gregory Jr., who is coming off a practice squad year last year, was up on the regular roster at the end of the season and has been here all offseason. He was a late draft pick last year. Or is it Trey Herndon, who's what year is he? 6th year in the league? Been around for a minute?
6 years.
If it comes to trust, Trey's going to be there, right? He's going to be out there. He's going to be available. Has Gregory Jr. done enough in training camp to earn that over him in a starting role?
He had a caused fumble, recovered fumble, interception in 2 preseason games.
He's been involved in 3 takeaways, yes.
Yeah.
Could that change as the season goes along?
But do you trust him?
I think you trust him to have him on this team, sure.
Okay.
Do you trust him as the starting nickel right now? Maybe it depends on who you're playing against.
Because, you trust Trey because he's going to be physical.
Yeah.
He's going to be available.
He's going to be in the right spot
all
the
time. He's dependable.
Okay,
is he sometimes not as good in man coverage against a speedy receiver? Absolutely. But can he play zone in a nickel package, which I think this defense is going to be more zone dependent than they were last year? Sure. But I think that word, JP, trust.
You know where he's going to be. He may not be the fastest after that, but he's going to be in the right place with a chance to make plays.
Mm-hmm. Trust is a big deal now. That word is going to be talked about extensively after this preseason game with the staff that Trent Baalke has and the staff that Doug Pederson has when they come together to figure out who they're going to be riding with.
You know who the franchise trusts?
Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, and we'll hear from his position coach when we come back. Quarterbacks coach Mike McCoy will take us through what he's improved the most technically this offseason and much more. That's next on the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida on the Jaguars Radio Network.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
Hey, Jags fans, Everbank is driven by performance, strength, and security. Start building your legacy today with Everbank's Yield Pledge accounts, all of which deliver a yield in the top 5% of competitive accounts nationwide. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars for your earned advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist. Waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
The Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. It's preseason week 3. The Jaguars and the Dolphins coming up. The game presented by Ticketmaster this Saturday, 7 o'clock at Everbank Stadium. A few tickets available. 633-2000 or visit Jaguars.com. You'll see Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence and the starters go maybe 2 quarters in Saturday's game. I caught up with Jaguars quarterbacks coach Mike McCoy this week. He enters his 2nd season with Trevor Lawrence, and I asked him where Lawrence has taken the greatest strides in technique.
Well, I think really if you look at his footwork and the way, he's playing with his feet underneath him this year. Last year, we've seen a couple of snaps just a couple of days ago. We were talking about, how wide his base is, whether when he was dropping back, setting up, or throwing with a big, long stride. And, now he's playing with his feet underneath him, and then it really is target line, setting up to the target where he's throwing the ball. And he's done a really nice job of kind of, at the end of the year, you kind of talk about a couple things. And last year, number one, he had to understand the system. So there's so much focus, day to day on just, learning what we're doing. And, sometimes you forget about those little things. And so we really honed into that this offseason. He's done a great job with that.
C.J. Beathard, number 2 quarterback on this roster. He's a veteran. He's been in this league for a while. What is his role? What does he need to show you to maintain that, and what does he do to help Trevor on a day-to-day basis?
Well, CJ's CJ. You always say that about him. He goes in there, he runs the show when he's in the huddle. Whether it's the off-season program, training camp, preseason games. You don't see a lot of the things that he does sometimes. Watching the game and just directing traffic, making sure guys are lined up the right way. The communication with the guys. You see him in the meeting rooms. He's never going to be shy. He's always going to speak up. Actually this morning in a meeting, he made a comment to press about something, and he was dead on, and that's the great thing. And just how he's helped Trevor the past couple of years. All the time they spend in the film room on their own, and just really teaching Trevor how to be a pro. From his rookie year to where he is today, because there's so much time, not just with the coaches, but that they spend in there, and he's just really helped him and. Talks to him about the tricks of the trade, game days, about defenses, about coordinators, all those things. So he's really another coach out there. So we're very fortunate to have him in the role that he's in.
It's one thing to hear it from Doug or Press or you, but when another player is telling you that, it registers in a different way, right?
Yeah, definitely. The great thing about it, we've all played the position, and then having someone like CJ that Trevor has so much trust in, when you come to the sideline, because CJ and I are always talking during the game how things come up, and at times, whether I'm, talking to Phil about something and CJ sits down and, hey, here's what we said. So, he's great to have on this team.
Finally, Nathan Rourke, CFL player the last couple of years. He's had some flashy plays in this preseason. What has stood out about him in this training camp so far? What does he do well? What has he been working on the last few weeks?
The great thing is that, the improvements he's made from the offseason. It's just like we were talking earlier about Trevor learning the system last year. Well, Nathan came in. He was fortunate enough that he could be here early, but the rules he watched so much film on his own, spent endless hours here, just getting adjusted to everything, living here and everything, and learning the system and taking care of his body and getting ready back in football shape. And then, we left this summer and he came back. We talked about working on a couple of things. And he came back, and it was obvious that he worked on those things, and he's made the most of every opportunity. And that's what you always tell the guys come preseason. Don't worry about how many reps you get. Just when you get in there, make the most of every opportunity and go do your thing. And that's what he's done. And, he's very fortunate for the room that he's in. You talk about CJ. CJ and Trevor both, they go out there and they do whatever they can to help him. And they did the same thing last year with EJ. And so, I'm very fortunate that I've got the 3 of them in the room and they work so well together. But he's just he's learned from those 2 guys, and he's made the most of the opportunities.
That's Mike McCoy, Jaguars quarterbacks coach. Plenty to discuss there on the Doug Pederson Show. The full conversation on the official Jaguars podcast network and Jaguars.com. You'll hear it again on Saturday on the Publix Tailgate Show. Well, yeah, one of those things, let's start with the footwork of the quarterback, right? There's always something to work on, and Mike McCoy's been around this for a long time, around a lot of great quarterbacks, and they can really kind of break this thing down, and they certainly have with Trevor, and he's open to it and has adjusted.
Yeah, I mean, look, every quarterback, if you were to literally just put a video camera and watch the footwork, you can tell whether or not a lot of times the play is going to have success or not. I mean, some guys like Patrick Mahomes, who sometimes the footwork are not traditional, a little off the beaten path. He's kind of one of those gunslinger guys.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, because he can throw the ball so many different ways, and that may not be the case. But for everybody else, okay, that has to play quarterback from the traditional way, in a sense, you've got to have good feet. Trevor's feet are definitely better this year. As Mike said, they're more underneath of him. I think C.J. Beathard at times needs to get more disciplined with his footwork and get his feet underneath of him and actually have his feet work to his advantage. Sometimes they're not going where they need to be going, and that's something that I think he can continue to work on, because sometimes he tries to play the game, fade away throws and things of that nature. But the other thing about Trevor that a lot of people haven't talked about, he's bigger. Now, he is noticeably bigger than he was last year. He's heavier. He told me that he's about 225, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he's gained weight a little bit in the camp so far. And he looks great. And I'll never forget, I was listening to Vic Fangio's press conference from, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, and he was talking about this matchup coming up against the Jaguars and what a great opportunity that it is for his defense,
Sure.
I mean, just like we're talking about this matchup against Tua and these two great receivers, it's a good matchup, good test for our our defensive backs. And what Fangio said next just made me chuckle. He said, it's a really good test, it's a good offense, and that quarterback, now Trevor Lawrence is a dude. A dude.
He's a dude.
A dude, okay? And a dude, okay, in Vic Fangio's world, a dude means he's a stud. Okay, when he said that, I just kind of chuckled. He's like, yeah, he's a dude.
He certainly is.
It's a great line.
The other part of that conversation, there's been a lot of talk amongst fans, social media, talk radio, I'm sure, on this and many of these stations on the network, about the backup quarterback situation. Has Nathan Rourke played his way into number 2? Well, that was clearly shot down by Doug Pederson after the game in Detroit. It's C.J. Beathard's number 2 gig. Rourke is getting the reps that he can. And you heard reasons why from Mike McCoy right there. I mean, the trust, to go back to the word again, that the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, has in his number 2 guy, and the trust that the coaching staff has in Beathard to help get the quarterback ready to go.
Well, and the team. I mean, there's got to be trust from the team to the backup quarterback. And also, you got to remember, the backup quarterback is not a guy that's going to be getting 50% of the reps during a regular season's week of work. Okay, they don't get reps.
They don't get sometimes any.
A lot of times 0 reps, okay, in a practice. And so they have to be able to take mental reps. They have to be able to use the scout team show reps that they're given the defense to be able to play kind of a mental game of applying some of the plays that they have to that execution of what you're trying to give a look for the defense. And so trying to groom a guy, if you want to keep 3 quarterbacks, okay, that's fine. Then you can do that. But where are the reps going to be for that guy in a practice as well? So I like the possibility of Nathan Rourke being a practice squad guy and letting him continue to develop to see if at some point then he can then compete for the number 2. This year he's competing to be a number 3.
Yeah.
Because here's the reality. You don't have to have 3. I know they've got a new rule, okay? But the reality is, if you're the 3rd quarterback, you count against the 53. Okay, on game day you don't count. But on a week-to-week basis, a 3rd quarterback counts against your roster, and you have to show something really special. And the one thing that Nathan Rourke has shown is athleticism, but he's got to still show the ability to diagnose and execute in the pocket. He's learning.
Plenty ahead. We'll return with some tough roster cuts ahead. More from the head coach, Doug Pederson, on the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida on Jaguars Radio.
Hey
Hey, do you know if Mr. Chubby's does to-go wing orders for the game Sunday?
Yes, they do. I did it last year and doing it again this year. You better get your larger wing order in early, though.
I just saw they're doing music bingo during the week.
Yep, we gotta go. Fleming Island Tuesdays, Westside and Ponte Vedra on Wednesday.
Well, I'm ready to chub it up for music bingo and place my wing order then.
See all their specials at MrChubby'sWings.com. Locations on Fleming Island, the West Side, and now Ponte Vedra Beach. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguar sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
You expect Jags fans to say, Duval. You expect the Beard Stadium is going to be cold, the dogs will be hot, but what you don't expect is an airport hotel with a renovated inviting lobby, a cool bar, and crowded restaurant, or 10,000 square feet of space just waiting for your next family or business event. At the Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport, you should always expect to be surprised. Book online or call 1-877-2-CROWN. That's 1-877-227-6963.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
You disrupt the lives of guys that have been busting their tail for about 6 weeks, here, plus the off season, and it's a tough time. It's a tough time to, I tell the guys all the time, you're competing for our roster, but there's 31 other rosters that are watching you too. So again, it may not be the end of the line, maybe the end of the line here, but not the end of the line, on another team. So, put your best foot forward.
That's head coach Doug Pederson, of course. Press conference earlier today. The full presser available on Jaguars.com and Jaguars YouTube. And welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. And the Dolphins-Jaguars game this Saturday brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. Yeah, it's never fun. I mean, we've heard plenty of former coaches around here discuss the cut day and how difficult that is, especially for guys who played in the league and maybe have been in that situation on the other side of the desk from a head coach or a general manager telling them, hey, you're no longer on this roster. That's a difficult day for anyone, but certainly a guy, and Doug Pederson was a backup quarterback in this league for a long time, had to face that a time or two, and Doug Marrone certainly had to do that before. We've heard the stories from him. It's a difficult day. It's part of the business, though. And as he said, hey, you put your best tape out there, somebody will take notice.
Well, and also there are 16 practice squad spots that are going to be available for this football team and then also every other team in the National Football League. So once the 53 is made, I mean, there's going to be still some jockeying with roster spots because, for example, if somebody becomes available off of the waiver wire or whatever, you may end up adding somebody, then subtracting somebody. So until you get to the week of the game, sometimes it can be a little bit unnerving, I think, for a lot of guys because, I mean, the reality is Doug Pederson and Trent Baalke are going to have to tell some of these guys that, look, you in a different kind of way that your dream is over. I mean, some of these guys, I mean, their dream in their whole life, I mean, they wanted to play pro football. And some of these guys are going to be told that that dream is not coming true, and it's not going to come true with this team. And I'm sure that they'll be encouraging that maybe can happen elsewhere, but the reality is it may not happen elsewhere either. And that's not an easy thing to do. I know that the way that they do it now with cell phones and everything, and the way the agents seem to get involved more now than ever, it's a little different. I mean, back in the day, they had what the guy was called the Turk, and he was somebody that was in the organization that would go up to a player and say, hey, coach wants to see you and bring your playbook.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, he was that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the Grim Reaper. He was the guy that went to go get people so that the coach or general manager could tell them that they were cut. And nowadays it happens a little differently. But it's a tough time. And these guys, look, they bust their hump for you, not just through training camp. They've done it in a lot of cases going all the way back to April when the OTAs and off-season training activities began in the weight room and all that kind of stuff. So, you appreciate the hard work and the dedication that these guys have. And the reality is that this is the best of the best, and this is it's a ruthless business. And the minute that your skill set drops, you're going to be out. And if you're not good enough, you're not going to make it. It's a survival of the fittest.
You may be out of the NFL, but there are some other opportunities out there these days that weren't over there a couple of years ago, especially in the spring, right? I mean, XFL, we've seen a couple of guys get signed. The USFL, those are there. That's
arena leagues. I mean, but
still, this is where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't grow up saying, man, I always wanted to play for the XFL.
But the point is, yes, this NFL moment might be over, but there are pathways to maybe get back out there. Some more tape.
One of the guys that I had an amazing amount of respect for was Warren Moon. I mean, Warren was the longtime quarterback of the Houston Oilers, and before that, he was in Canada. And he played in Canada for a number of years before given an opportunity in the National Football League, and he was tremendous. I mean, tremendous guy, tremendous player. And, there's been other guys. But I think he's one of the ones that comes to mind just because he played in Canada for
6 years.
5, 6 years?
6 years.
Yeah,
in Edmonton.
That's a long period of time, and he never gave up on his dream of being a quarterback in the National Football League and led one of the most dynamic offenses in league history. When he had that offense down there in Houston that had, Ernest Givens and, running backs, just galore. They threw the ball a ton. And CFL is an option for some.
But Doug Flutie did that too. He was in the league for a minute, then went up there for for years, 3 different teams.
Yeah,
he got his chance later.
Yeah, he was up there for a while, and he was kind of a runaround guy. But he never had an NFL career that you went, wow, what a great NFL career. But Warren Moon, you're talking Hall of Fame guy,
quarterback, right?
Hall of Fame guy.
That's right.
So and I have respect for those guys that continue. And I'll never forget when I was calling games over in NFL Europe. There were some guys that ended up making it out of NFL Europe, guys that never gave up on their dream, that continued to work at it, and in some cases turned out to be really good football players. The guys that stuck to it, I got a lot of respect for them that they could stick to it and continue to work to try and get better. The reality is that it's easy if once you say, you're told you're not good enough to make this football team, to just give it up. In some cases, some guys truly need to give it up, but some guys that believe in themselves and continue to have a work ethic and are late developers, the ones that stick to it, I got a lot of respect for him.
Remember the cornerback Luke Barku?
Yeah,
who played here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, had great ball skills
in 2020.
Really good
played
ball
here.
skills.
In 21 was with the Cardinals. Was also on the Niners, Chiefs, and Jets practice squads during the offseason the next 2 years. Well, then he went to the XFL this year. He was in San Antonio and played really well for them. He got signed by the Steelers. Not sure if he's going to make it. Who knows? But that gave him another chance to get some more tape out there, and he really starred in that league. He played well.
I just never. The reason I remember him is that he had outstanding ball skills. Much like Cisco.
Yeah.
Okay, Andre Cisco, that's got excellent ball skills. Ball's in the area, he's going to catch it. And Barku had the same thing.
Back in a moment, we'll hear more from the head coach and the offensive weapons when we come back. It's the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguar Sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar Sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar Sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars fans, Everbank is building its future on the partnership and the performance you know and trust. Take advantage of high-yield savings solutions with money market, online savings, CDs, and more. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars today for your financial advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling & Son Incorporated, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
They really picked up where they left off a year ago. And you know, going into year two, just the growth and development of those guys. I've said this before, the teaching aspect is we're not teaching plays, right? We're teaching fundamentals more, and we're working on their skill sets and helping them become better football players and taking that next step, as a team. Those are the things that I think this training camp really has sort of emerged, on both sides of the ball. When you got, we have all 11 guys, on defense that are coming back basically, and the communication, the execution, those are all things that have been more on point, I should say, this year.
That's head coach Doug Pederson in his press conference earlier today. Welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. He's talking about a lot of the offense there and the improvement and the change. We're teaching fundamentals more than actual plays now. The plays are there. Like, they have a base offense, and now they can build upon that later. So that said, final chance to see the starters Saturday. What is the one thing you want to see the most out of this offense in the first half?
Well, you want to see production and energy. That's
two things. But yes, I like that.
I think they coincide, right?
They're all together.
But the one thing that's special about game days is, and with this football team, especially at home, you want to make home have that energy. And whether it's a preseason game, whether it's a regular season game, you want to make it feel like it's your place. And
production breeds energy, though.
Absolutely. And so I want to see the energy. I want to see the positivity. And you want to see guys be excited to play together. Because we really haven't seen them very much, and you want to see Calvin Ridley have an impact. You want to see everybody else look like, okay, that's the Evan Ingram that we know. That's the Zay Jones that we know. That's the guy that can get great separation, Christian Kirk, and Trevor. A lot of the fans have heard Doug and a lot of people talk and give Trevor rave reviews. I'm sure they want to see it for themselves. So there's a lot of excitement, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. And then the defense has got excitement as well. But there's, I think, a little bit more questions on that side of the ball.
When we return, Doug Pederson's player mindset going into the final preseason game. It's the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
Hey, I've got that craving again. How about some Mr. Chubby's wings? Have you had the Chubby style wings? Grilled to perfection with Chubby's secret seasoning. You know I have. They are so delicious. I swear you can't find anywhere in town with better wings and better prices on drinks. So many different specials each night, too. Well, I'm ready to chub it up again. Me too.
See all their specials at MrChubby'sWings.com. Locations on Fleming Island, the West Side, and now Ponte Vedra Beach. Mr. Chubby's Wings. Before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Crown Royal's That Deserves a Crown program recognizes local heroes for making a positive impact in the community. The Jaguars and Crown Royal are giving back to those who served this season, celebrating these individuals with the ultimate VIP Jaguars home game experience. Nominate someone who deserves a crown today at jaguars.com/Crown Royal promotion. Please drink responsibly.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguar Sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar Sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar Sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Hey Jaguars fans, it's always game on with Dunkin'. So grab a coffee and kick off the action, whether that's drinking a cup of coffee on your way to the game or grabbing one to go before watching at home. Dunkin' is always there to help you get your game on. Just like the pros, we need to be at our best come game time, which is why Dunkin' is the most important part of your game day ritual, because it's always the best call for football. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
You just didn't know how much time you were going to get in that game to really showcase yourself. And for me, it was just a matter of, again, making the most of the opportunity. Not forcing the issue or anything like that, but just going out and executing the offense, right? Find the open receiver, make the right checks, whatever it might be. I think the older I got in the league, the coaches, again, they kind of understand what you can do, and they can trust you as a player. And so I didn't play as much in those last couple preseason games because we let the younger guys, play. And that's kind of where we are right now, right? We understand the Tyson Campbells and, guys of that nature who we know they're on the team, right? So now we want to see these younger guys play and make the most of their opportunity and just see what they can do.
That is head coach Doug Pederson. He said the secret word. So the duck comes down from the ceiling and he gets $100. Trust is the key word in today's Doug Pederson show.
Where does that come from?
That's from the Groucho Marx. What's the name of that show?
Duck comes down from the ceiling
Yeah.
and you get $100.
You Bet Your Life was the name of that show.
When was that?
It was in the 50s.
You weren't even alive.
I wasn't
then.
even close to alive.
Yeah. Did you watch
You gotta, like, do some
reruns of that?
Well, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Trust is the word of the day.
Well, and it's big, and we've talked about it in a lot of different applications. And Doug is also talking about preseason games, and the older I got, and the more trust they had in me, and so they were playing the young guys, and I always liked that. I remember in preseason games, the coaches would give you an idea of kind of the pitch count. They'd say, okay, hey, look, we're looking to get you, maybe, for example, like first game, you'd be like, they'd say like 8 to 10 plays. Okay. You'd be out there on the field and you got 1, 2. You come off sideline after 2 series, and let's say it was 8 plays total. And you come off sideline, defensive line coach Greg, hey, Greg, that was 8 plays. Am I done?
Always keeping track.
Oh, you're always keeping track,
Of course.
man. You just wanted to get your time in. And, when you're a starter like Tyson Campbell, like Doug's talking about, not only do you know about him, but he's counting because he wants to get out.
That is Jeff Lageman. I'm JP Shadrick. Our thanks to Mike McCoy, quarterbacks coach, as well, and our entire crew. The Dolphins Jaguars game Saturday, 7 o'clock at Everbank Stadium, brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. We'll catch you next time on the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.